Ready and front, Jane? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, December 11th, 2024, and we'd like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. The teleconference number is 971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. Audio capabilities are listen only, and they are offered on a best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us online by going to our website or to tctvonline.com. Click on live broadcasts. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. Public comment. Those intending to provide public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to the public comments email on our website. Public comments received by noon on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email public comments by noon on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners office at 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. Do we have anyone registered online today for public comment? Okay, we do not. So we will open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Olson, you lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Well, we do not have any non-agenda items today, so we will jump right into the agenda with item 5, which is consideration on order in the matter of the appointment of justices of the peace pro tem for one calendar year, January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. And with us, I believe we have Judge Ryan Cannell online.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And this is, as you mentioned, our request to authorize pro tems Denise Harrington, Dustin Johnson, Matt Lyon, and Dennis Wine. These are the same pro tems that we've used for about the last 5 years. They do a great job, and I'm sorry I'm going quickly. I also have a trial at 9 o'clock, and so I'm just kind of moving fast and going to jump into that as soon as we're done here. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for the judge?
Not really. I believe this, as I understand it, this is standard practice in case Judge Cannell is not available. Others can fill in, and the docket keeps up to date.
Right, agreed. Okay, I think we are ready for a motion.
Okay, Madam Chair, in consideration of order number 24-071 in the matter of the appointment of Justice of the Peace pro tem for one calendar year, January 1, 2025 through December 30, 2025, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
You too. Item 6 is consideration of a letter of support to the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board for the City of Rockaway Beach Lower Jetty Creek Watershed Forest Legacy Project Drinking Water Source Protection Grant Program application. That's a mouthful. And with us, we have David Ware. Is it Ware?
Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel Weir. Yes.
Sorry, Daniel. Welcome, and please go ahead and explain this project for us.
Of course, and thank you, Board of Commissioners, for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. I'm supporting the City of Rockaway Beach in an application to secure funding for the acquisition of 800 acres of forest land that is containing their drinking watershed or a portion of their drinking watershed. So this application is one of a set of applications the city has submitted to secure funding, and this week we're application to the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board. which would support that effort. And I believe that in September, I joined for a meeting as well and shared a bit more details. But today we're hoping that the Board of Commissioners will be able to sign a letter of support that we can share with our application later this week.
Thank you, Daniel. Commissioner Scott?
I don't have any questions. I think we've talked about this quite a bit, and that we really do agree and appreciate that there's a movement across the state for cities to be able to purchase their watersheds and to ensure that way that there is safe, clean drinking water for cities, along with sustainable forestry and recreation practices in those areas that just really coincide nicely. So I am fully in support of the City of Rockaway Beach's project and excited that OWEB has this grant opportunity available.
Thank you. Commissioner Olson?
Thank you. I think I do have one question. First of all, I do absolutely support drinking water protection for the watershed. And I know when people think in Western Oregon we have all the water we ever needed, and that's not actually so, because we have both surface water and groundwater, and they do need to be protected. This application, do you actually own the land fee simple, or do you have certain rights in the watershed, or how does that work in terms of process and what gets recorded?
Great question. Yes, so the city right now has water rights to Jetty Creek, and that's where their water intake facility is. However, they do not own, or the city, we don't own any land fee simple. So this application, if funded, would allow the city to acquire the lower half of the watershed in fee simple, so they'd be able to own and manage the property to support water quality as best they can.
Okay, thank you. And how does it work for trespassing, or is there another? I understand you have the water rights, which are recorded in favor of the city, but if someone wants to go in there hiking or go in and shoot a deer or something, is that permissible?
Great question. So currently the landowners have a public access policy that allows for hiking, for biking, for hunting, and the city, when acquired, they, would reconsider what public access looks like within the watershed. But I think that the interest is to maintain a level of public access that does not impact the drinking water quality. So activities like hiking, like biking, staying on the forested roads don't impact water quality. So I think that when acquired, there'd be a process to decide what allowable activities are within the property. So no decisions have been made at this point, but I do think that there's continued support for public access within the area.
Thank you. Well, I certainly support protecting water supplies. Without some protections and a dependable water supply, that rises to the top of the list of your problem list for sure. So yes, let's get it done.
Thank you. I am also supportive. I'm excited about the project and glad that this funding opportunity is available through OWEB, so I'm happy to provide the letter of support. So I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a letter of support to the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board for the City of Rockaway Beach Lower Jetty Creek Watershed Forest Legacy Project Drinking Water Source Protection Grant Program application, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Item 7 is consideration of amendment number 13 to Oregon Health Authority Intergovernmental Agreement number 180028 for the financing of public health services. And with us, I believe we have Marlene Putman, Director of Health and Human Services.
Yes, I just squeaked on. We were just finishing up our all-staff meeting, so my apologies for not arriving a little bit earlier.
Oh, that's okay.
Yes, so we have an amendment for our Oregon Health Authority Intergovernmental Agreement for Public Health. This agreement is a modification that addresses the amount of $165,591, and I think it says 50 cents, which are funds that we did not expend during the first part of the biennium, which was July 1, 2023 through June 30 of 2024. So these funds will be rolled over into an amendment for the 2024-25 second year of our biennial allocation. So in this budget, attachment A on page 5, it indicates that there is reduction in that first year budget. So you will see another amendment which increases the other budget by the same amount. This is specifically on page 5. It details program element 13, which it says is a rollover of unspent funds. So just to give you the detail on where that's located.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, comments?
No questions, standard operating procedure for how we roll the state money forward.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Olson?
Yes, thank you. That's what it seems to me too. What you had in one period is now the same in the second period, and almost an accounting adjustment, but the same program as I understand it. So yes, let's get that one done.
Okay, likewise. I think we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of amendment number 13 to Oregon Health Authority Intergovernmental Agreement number 180028 for the financing of public health services, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you.
Item 8 is consideration of a subscription agreement with Cascade Centers, Inc., doing business as Canopy Wellbeing for an employee assistance program. And with us, we may have Rachel Haggerty.
I don't see Mackenzie. Was she going to join us, Rachel? I realize we're moving rather rapidly.
Well, we do. We have Randy in the room, so let's pause on item 8 and move to item 10, consideration of agreement number PO-26000-000397949 with the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office for the Tillamook County Wildfire Protection Program. With us, we have Randy Thorpe, Director of Tillamook County Emergency Management. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning. I am very happy to bring this before you today. What it is it is a contract between the county and the State Fire Marshal's Office. And what it encompasses is a $150,000 grant, non-matching, for us to update our community wildfire protection plan. The one that's been way out of date and the one that we tried to get some money for before, but were denied, and the Fire Marshal's Office really thinks that our county needs to update ours, and so they found the money for us. So this money, what it is they broke it into a couple of different phases. They want us to first hire a on-site project manager, not full-time, just somebody that can kind of oversee it. And the second phase is to go ahead and do some requests for proposals and send out for bids to have a contractor come in and produce the work for us. So the Jen Warren at the Fire Marshal's Office will help us write our requests for proposals. And so we make sure that we put in what we need to do, and she's very familiar. Luckily, we've been able to develop a fairly good list of people out there. So, and we can get started as soon as everything gets put through here, and we really would like to do it through the winter because that's when all the people here that can help them with the fire districts and everything else are not quite as busy, and so we'll be able to have our a lot of local input into it if we start right after the first of the year. So I think it's a great opportunity, and like I say, I'm so happy that the Fire Marshal's Office went this way because I was struggling to try to figure out how we were going to update this with no money, and so this is a great opportunity for us. And stress, not matching.
That's great.
Reimbursable, but not matching.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Commissioner Scar.
I don't have any questions really. I know that obviously wildfire planning is absolutely crucial. We are seeing wildfires increase across the state of Oregon exponentially. And while Tillamook County, we tend to think of ourselves as, I think Commissioner Olson said earlier, having plenty of water and not being the type of place for wildfire, we don't have to look back very far to see what happened in Otis. And of course, the Tillamook burn is, while apparently a ways in our rearview mirror, not a situation that we could rule out happening again. So I think having an up-to-date, accurate plan is very, very important, and I'm happy that the Fire Marshal's office is able to provide the funding to make this happen.
Thank you. Commissioner Olson?
Well, thank you. I too think this is a good thing. I'm glad to hear it because, as we all know, wildfires seem to be on the uptick, and they can be quite devastating and fatal in some cases. And so anything we can do to alleviate that is good. And I know we may be out of the season here, but I saw, I think yesterday or the day before, there's a pretty substantial wildfire down around Malibu in California now.
Yeah, it was on news again this morning.
Yes, so I guess it's a year-round matter in America, and everything we can do would be to all our advantage, collective advantage for sure. And if this passes, I'd like to make another comment if I could.
Certainly. Well, thank you, Randy, for advocating for us for the funds. I'm glad the funds are available. I'm grateful, and I know there was a period where we weren't sure that we were going to qualify for these funds. So good job advocating for us. Thank you. And certainly, it's a big project. It might seem like a simple thing to update a plan like this, but it's a really big project. So I'm grateful to have the funds, and also, to your point, to have the winter to work through the project.
The biggest concern was our plan's over 15 years old.
Yeah.
So nothing in it is really relevant to today. So it's a great opportunity for us.
Terrific. Okay. I think we're ready for a motion.
Perfect. One last comment. I was at the Oceanside Neighborhood Association on Saturday, just kind of hearing what they were doing, and they have an interest in becoming a Firewise community, which I'm sure is a piece that plays into this
Yes,
sort of
very
planning,
much.
right? So it was interesting to hear them talking about that in Oceanside, and wonderful to hear them talking about it. So, okay, Madam Chair, in consideration of sorry, we jumped down to 10 and my brain was at 8. So sorry, apologize for that misstart. Consideration, Madam Chair, in consideration of agreement number PO-26000-000399749 with the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office for the Tillamook County Community Wildfire Protection Program. I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Commissioner Olson?
Well, thank you. I simply wanted to thank you and point out when we had our tsunami scare here recently, we all pay attention to that, and I do particularly because my property where I live is about 3 blocks from the ocean at 14 feet above sea level, and there's no assurances that the tidal wave will be 12 feet. So, one never knows. But within the hour, I think you had sent out some notice, and after that, some data from the National Weather Service and some other information that I thought was very helpful and timely. So I just wanted to point out that our system here in the county, which is probably not at all perfect, but it's pretty darn good. And those who subscribe to Nixle and other services or even paying attention, the information comes and it comes pretty quickly. And this guy did I thought, a very good job of being on top of it and being in contact with the National Weather Service and the Tsunami Center, which I believe is in Alaska. All of that came together and the system worked. Fortunately, it didn't materialize, but one of these days something will, and at least we've got some assurances we'll know about it and perhaps have enough time to get up to high ground.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and there's some great tools out there, and I did put that in my little blurb out there that really will help people with alerts, and so they really know what's going on, and it gets better and better every year that they are able to provide a lot more information for us, and the beauty of apps on cell phones.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I agree with my fellow commissioner. I got the notifications right away. You called me, which I was grateful for, and luckily for us, it wasn't we weren't affected, and neither was anyone else. Luckily, it didn't result in a tsunami, but it also, to your point, Commissioner, gave me some reassurance that the communication system was working. So thank you. Anything else for Randy? All right, thank you, Randy. With that, we will go back to item 8, which is consideration of a subscription agreement with Cascade Centers, Inc., doing business as Canopy Wellbeing for an employee assistance program. And we have Mackenzie Weir with us from Tillamook County HR. Good morning, Mackenzie.
Good morning. I am here to seek renewal for our Employee Assistance Program contract. This is for all employees outside of the CIS Trust. So this covers our Teamster employees as well as seasonal part-time employees we may have. This contract is from April of this year to December 31st, 2026. Same services with a couple additional ones. I do want to call out there is a 30-cent increase per employee per month, and this is to mirror the same benefits we provide the employees in the trust.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, Commissioner Olson?
Thank you. No, not really, except I would comment. I've worked for 2 larger organizations in years past, and each one had an employee assistance program. And of course, you never know who takes advantage of it. Sometimes they do say a number that, X number of employees made some contact and were pointed in the right direction somewhere. But I think it's a really, really important part of having employees and the benefits that are offered, because sooner or later, almost everyone has some issue that an outside person might have some input and could some help. And so it's not a terribly expensive program, as I understand it, but I think it's one of those things you do to keep the employees whole and recognize their families. And to me, it's just a good thing. And I don't know how many employers do that. I think perhaps a majority, but good for us and good for the employees and good for everybody.
Thank you. Commissioner?
I would agree. Mackenzie, would you be willing to just kind of share that list of benefits that fall under Canopy, which then also our other employees receive under the trust?
Yes, absolutely. The top ones are legal mediation. They do crisis counseling, face-to-face or over the phone, whichever works. They also do some financial services. And new this year in this contract is behavioral health assessments. They also do will preparation kits. They attend our benefit fairs, and some services that are uncommon that we can take advantage of are on-site financial seminars or immediate response to crisis on-site. Gym reimbursements, membership discounts, pet parent resources, housing support, relocation, and a home ownership program are just a handful of the services that they offer to employees.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that, it's a really, I think, fabulous service that I know I haven't taken advantage of in the CIS Trust within what we have. But I did look at the pet one and I was like, oh, this is something I should be following through and really thinking about with my 3 cats. So I appreciate the benefits that are provided there, and it is an attempt to really provide for our employees a wide variety of benefits that gives everybody something that's helpful to them. And certainly the crisis services, financial services, those pieces are really important in our world today. We never know when we might need that. So great contract.
That's an excellent point. Thank you. Thanks for asking. And Mackenzie, thanks for providing that list, because when I think of an employee assistance program, I think of a couple of counseling sessions, but it's really far more more inclusive than that. It offers a lot for our employees. So I am fully supportive, and I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay. Madam Chair, in consideration of subscription agreement with the Cascade Centers, Inc., doing business as Canopy Wellbeing for an employee assistance program, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 9, consideration of a grant agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for the Myrtle Creek Salmon Superhighway Fish Passage Restoration Bridge Project. With us, we have Chris Lady, Director of Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So Myrtle Creek is located on Kilchis River Road. It's directly adjacent to the hydrangea farm. The design of that has already been concluded. That was managed by Trout Unlimited, and that funding for that was by at least 5 different partners. County being involved with that, but our county share on the design was through the NOAA congressionally directed spending. So no cash actually out of our road department fund. In February of 2023, we applied for the U.S. Department of Transportation grant, and it is specific to the National Culvert Removal, Replacement, and Restoration Grant Program. This is new. We were the first ones. This was the first of the 5-year programs for that. The grant was eligible for everybody that's on either the East Coast or the West Coast. Has to be associated with an ocean. Andromedas fish. I'm still mispronounce that. I'll never get it right, but I'll try in the future. State of Oregon had applied. The different entities in the state of Oregon had applied for this grant. 9 were received or awarded in Oregon. Tillamook County received 2 of the 9 grants. Next week, you'll see Mill Creek come before you as well. So with that is of those 2 grants that we received, that covers 3 structures. This one specific to Myrtle Creek is for construction and construction only funding. So because the design had been done with multiple partners, the environmental component was actually completed by the U.S. Fish Wildlife Service. It will continue on through, you'll see another agreement come before you modifying the memorandum of agreement where we basically continue to have Trout Unlimited manage this project. That project for construction has funds from another $500,000 from U.S. Fish Wildlife Service. And we also have county matching funds associated with that. So the project would be built in the summer of 2025. It's hard to believe we're already into 2025. And with this agreement it does require a county match associated with that. And I literally just had that right in front of me, kind of moving off today. This braces a 60-inch rusted culvert that is right at the end of its useful life. It's a 5-foot 60-inch, and it gets replaced with a 45-foot bridge associated with that. So 45-foot replacing a 5-foot diameter bridge or a 5-foot diameter culvert. Dollar amount, my computer is freezing up on me. It's there in front of you. As far as what the cash match is, my computer froze up as far as accessing our internet. We had a problem with our telephone system a little earlier today. So the total grant is there, and then the county match is also there. This has been budgeted. We do have the funds in the road department. Any questions?
If you'd like, I can share those dollar amounts if anybody's interested. So the federal share is $617,600, an additional federal share of $500,000. The recipient share, therefore, that would be our match at $279,400 for a total project of $1,397,000.
Thank you. Commissioner Olson?
Well, thank you. I have nothing to really add to the description. Chris always has an immense amount of detail. I would just remark again that the Salmon Superhighway program, when I first became aware of that some years ago, and I thought, well, this might last, 6 months at best. And here it is 10 years later and millions of dollars of improvements, most of them here in Tillamook County. It's been just what I would characterize a phenomenal success. And I think that's because of all the different agencies. When I attended their annual meeting not too long ago, I think there were like almost a dozen different agencies, federal, state, and others, and interested people. And so this has taken on a life of its own, and I think we're all the better for it. So absolutely get it done. And even though that's a fair amount of money, it's leveraged into something that's quite worthwhile.
Thank you. I am also grateful for our relationship with the Salmon Superhighway and Trout Unlimited. And, thinking about this project, it would have been difficult for us to finance this on our own, if not impossible right now. And so it's just an extraordinary opportunity for us to partner with these other organizations in order to, it's just win-win all the way around, in order to convert a culvert to a bridge, improve fish passage, take care of business, and you said our share was coming through NOAA funding? Is that right?
So the design component, so in the design, the county had zero cash match because the county had received NOAA congressionally directed spending. So the design was 100% paid by others, not the road department. As far as the construction component of it, we are into $279,400 in kind work and cash match. So in kind would be, we document the amount of hours that we put into it, assign the dollar amount to it. So it'd be my salary plus all the fringe benefits, and that gets credited for our match into this project.
Thank you.
So most of it's cash though.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's still a great deal for us.
Mhm.
So I'm grateful and fully supportive.
As am I. Okay. Madam Chair, in consideration of a grant agreement with the Federal Highway Administration for the Myrtle Creek Salmon Superhighway Fish Passage Restoration Bridge Project, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 11, consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Jimco Electrical Contracting, Inc. for the courthouse interior lighting upgrade project. With us, we have Kevin Jolly online, Facilities Supervisor.
Good morning. You caught me by surprise.
Good morning.
What you have before you for your consideration and approval is the courthouse interior lighting upgrade. We're trying to switch, we have to switch from old school now fluorescent tubes to LED. Probably everybody's aware that they're not really manufacturing LED tubes, that sort of thing anymore. So we're kind of forced to have to, go into it and do an upgrade. Like you said, we're doing a work with Jimco Electric. The total price of the project is going to be $88,721 that is being allocated through ARPA funding. It's going to be a little challenging, but with everybody, because we're going to be doing this while everybody's here at work, but we can get it done. I think I have here some a little quick information about how much we'll save whenever this is all said and done and the work is complete. With PUD, we did an energy audit for the lighting, and what we would potentially save every month, or I'm sorry, every year is, and it's probably more since we've had this done. It's been about a year old, but at that time it was probably about $3,600 a month in electrical, annual savings. So we'll be saving an annual amount in kilowatt hours of right around 51,000 kilowatt hours, and our watt reduction will be 54%. So it's quite a substantial energy savings for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's about the size of it, actually.
Okay.
Any questions?
Commissioner Olson?
Thank you. No, I think this is a great upgrade, and part of it is mandated, I believe, and then others are simply evolution. What I know about LEDs is people I'll go back when I was on the PUD board for a number of years, people would say, why in the world would you subsidize or require something that uses less electricity? And that people thought, well, why would an organization advocate for bringing in less money? And the answer is the generation of electricity occurs at the same time, instantaneously, actually, almost, when it's consumed. And so, in order to do that, as things grow across our society, you have more and more need for generation, which costs more. So to the extent you can defer that or go to an alternate means, like solar or wind or something, you actually are money ahead. And that's why there's incentives to do that, rather than just say, hey, we want to sell you less of our product and we'll help you get there. It's kind of a backward analysis of how it works. But LEDs are great. I think most of us now have LEDs in our vehicles, our homes, and I, for one, am glad to see the death of those curlicue light bulbs that we all had for a while. I thought that was a piece
Right.
of history that needs to be in the ash heap forever, my opinion. But so
Mhm.
this is great, and even though it's a modest savings, I think there's even more simply because you don't have to replace them as often. That should factor into it as well as the actual consumption of electricity.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm in support. We had the project done by McKinstry that really looked at all of our facilities and looked at how we need to maintain them, as well as updates and upgrades energy-wise that we could make. And this was one of those pieces that we had thought about it in the past, and I believe it came up again in the McKinstry work. And so I'm happy that we're able to utilize some ARPA funds to make it happen. To Doug's point about energy generation, I was at the Oregon Leadership Summit on Monday and listening to our industry leaders talk about what is needed in the state of Oregon for strong business growth. And one of the key pieces is additional energy generation. So there are two ways to manage a need for energy, and one is to reduce what you're using in some areas to make it available in others, and the other is greater generation. So I think both are necessary, and we're doing our little piece, right, our little part of that by reducing what we need here in Toma County.
Thank you. I agree with my colleagues, and to Kevin's earlier point, we can't replace these. So we're going to have lighting in the building.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I think we're ready for the
We
motion.
cannot work in the dark. Okay.
Correct.
Madam Chair, in consideration of a prevailing wage rate contract for construction with Jimco Electric Contracting, Inc. for the courthouse interior lighting upgrade project, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right, item 12 is consideration of an order in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for the compensation and pay equity study. Rachel Haggerty, Chief Administrative Officer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As you know, we're going through the job classification study with Troop in preparation for the next level of this body of work, which is the compensation, wage, and pay equity study that ends up with updated pay tables and marketing and all of that for our employees. We are preparing to roll right into that work. And so the job classification work is still ongoing. I'll have an email out to the staff later today describing where we are in that process, as well as the information about this contract. But before you today is the notice of intent to award a contract to Troop. They're the ones that are doing the job classification work. We did a request for proposals, had it open for 2 weeks. We did a review with the committee of the proposals and have identified Troop as the entity that we want to continue this work with. It's in the amount of $82,000, and we're able to meet the deadline for using for using ARPA funds to support this work. So it's $82,000, and it will go through September. The timeline's a little longer than we had anticipated, but we'll be talking with them about ways that we can expedite the work. We are putting the AFSCME marketing work ahead of the other pay tables because we are going to be going into bargaining in the spring. The scope of work includes affirming the county's compensation philosophy that we've been operating under, affirming our 13 comparable counties that we've been using for studies to date. Don't know if there's other ones that we want to consider, but we'll go through a process with Troop to ensure that we still want to use those or make revisions. And then they will conduct surveys with our comparable counties to tease out that marketing data and apply it to the model that they use to come up with recommendations, which will end up in a final recommendation to you on how to implement this. So that is ready for your consideration, and there's a lot in the proposal to review if there's more questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Scar.
I'm delighted that we're moving forward with this. I'm delighted that we're moving forward with Troop. I think that we've laid some really good groundwork with them, and this is just the next logical step. I do agree and wish that we had a faster timeline, but the reality is the work takes time, and part of that is response from our comparators that takes time. So I am happy that we're able to prioritize AFSCME so that we'll be able to fit that into the bargaining cycle. I know that that is absolutely a piece that we have talked to our staff about and that we want to make sure we meet. So I think moving this forward quickly is important.
Thank you. Commissioner Olson.
Well, thank you. Yes, I would agree. Compensation studies are done by a lot of organizations, mostly medium-sized and largers, and it seems like there's always one underway, and that's not quite accurate. But organizations need to look at how they compensate their employees fairly frequently, because if you don't, employees tend to move around. We have a very mobile society. They can find comparable work elsewhere for make more money in many cases, or better benefits. And so it's really incumbent upon the board, in this case, Board of Commissioners, to look at the salaries and compensation program from time to time and be sure that we're at a market. And if you don't, then as I said, you tend to lose employees. And not only do you lose them, you have difficulties attracting replacement. And since the work that we do here is almost entirely done by human beings, if you don't compensate them properly and competitively, you don't get the people that you should have or retain the ones you have. So it's just another cog in the wheel of managing a larger organization. And it does cost a little bit of money, but you're buying expertise that looks across the broader market. And I didn't participate in this particular RFP, but I believe my colleagues have adequately tested the market, and so we go forward, and I'm absolutely in favor of using this firm.
All right, thank you. Well, I want to thank you, Rachel, for your work on this. I agree with my colleagues. We have been working with Troop. They're doing a good job. It'll be good to have that continuity. I am concerned about the timeline. Hopefully we can accelerate it, and I think we have to keep moving forward. So we're ready for a motion.
Madam Chair, in consideration of order number 24-072 in the matter of a notice of intent to award a contract for the compensation and pay equity study, I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, do we have any board concerns?
Not today, thank you.
Commissioner Olson?
Just a couple of things. I'll be at Colpack tomorrow and also Northwest ACT. And so it's an all-day session over in St. Helens. Colpack is the economic development agency for the northwest part of Oregon, which is parts of Washington County, Columbia County, Clatsop, and Tillamook. And this is a quarterly meeting followed by Northwest ACT, which is a group that recommends priorities for ODOT in road repair, maintenance, and capital projects, also in the same general area, Northwest Oregon. So it's a meeting where as many as 50 people plus attend. So all represent the county and argue with what needs to be done. Often Chris Lady joins as well because he's our road guy and he has a considerable amount of influence with ODOT. And so we'll get through that tomorrow. One other mention that has been in the public sphere now for again, is what's happening with the Pacific City Airport. It's a state airport operated by the Department of Aviation State Agency. And they've been sitting on some money for flood control for the last, I think at least one biennium ago, possibly two. And so there was a meeting yesterday in Salem with several of us to try and free that up and get it moving forward, and then reinforce the need for the airport on the Oregon coast in South Tillamook County, because the department from time to time says, well, maybe we should just shut it down and not worry about it. It's a little bit difficult to maintain, and that draws a lot of opposition to come in and argue, and that's what we were doing yesterday morning. So hopefully it goes forward and things will be improved a bit. And so that's something I think would be of interest to people, particularly aviators and those who might need medevac because they fly in there frequently to evacuate people via air ambulance or helicopters and so on. So it's a pretty key part of Tillamook County, and it seems to be in jeopardy every year or two. So it is what it is, but I think for the time being, things are positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you know, I agree that it seems to be in jeopardy on a regular basis. Do you know how many people use the Pacific City Airport?
Well, I think the Friends of the Pacific City Airport could tell you, I'm going to say it's well into the thousands. Now, I happen to live just a few blocks from the airport, and I can tell you on a summer weekend, sometimes there are 15 or 20 planes that come in. There's a flying club that comes in from Seattle. The Coast Guard comes in almost daily or several times a week, and they sometimes touch and go. They sometimes land their helicopters and go to lunch or whatever they do. So I don't know the actual numbers of takeoff and landings and however you would measure it, but it's got to be in the thousands. And it's, it's kind of a big deal. It's part of a network. If you go back and look at the history of aviation on the Oregon coast, clear back into World War II, there was a move, and I've learned all this over the past few years. There was a plan by design to set up airports about every 20 or 25 miles. And if you look going from Astoria clear down to the California border, there's an airport about every 25 miles. And there are a lot of people who fly the coast and they navigate by looking out the window at the coastline, but they're never more than 20 miles or so from an airport. And so if you took a big chunk out of that and made it considerably longer, that's an issue for a lot of private flyers who don't fly instrument ratings like the jets and all. They actually navigate by looking out the window and talking to somebody on the radio. And so you take out a part of that. But from my perspective, having lived here 30-some years, I can tell you that with some frequency, Life Flight comes in and takes people out and that have suffered some sort of medical difficulty. And that's literally life and death for people. And then second of all, the Coast Guard uses that as a base when they need to go out into the ocean and look for lost people or difficulties. And so, to take that out of service just because it doesn't fit the financial model of the state of Oregon, it's one of those things that eternal vigilance needs to be at the forefront, or the state may do something that we'll regret. And so, if for anybody who has any influence at all with people in Salem, don't give up.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so we have an executive session today. I'll read our announcements first, and then we will break to go into executive session. Yesterday, Commissioner Scar and I attended a local public safety coordinating council workshop on working collaboratively within and with other organizations. It was excellent, by the way. And we will attend part 2 of that workshop Thursday, December 12th, 2024 at 12:30 p.m. and part 3 of the workshop on Tuesday, December 17th at 12:30 p.m. The workshop segments will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse. There is no board briefing scheduled for today, Wednesday, December 11th. The Commissioners will attend a Budget Committee meeting on Wednesday, December 11th at 1 p.m. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue in Tillamook. The teleconference number is 971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. The Local Safety Coordinating Council teleconference will be held on Monday, December 16th, 2024 at 12 p.m. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners Meeting Room 106 in the Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue in Tillamook. The teleconference number is 971-254-3149, conference ID 155-859-952#. and the Commissioners will attend a Tillamook Lightwave meeting on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. at the Tillamook PD in the Carl Raw Meeting Room. Okay, so we will be going into executive session at 9:50 a.m. under ORS.
192.660.2F, that's to consider records that are exempt by public law from public inspections.
Okay, thank you. And so this meeting is recessed at 9:50 to go into executive session.
Run to the restaurant.